nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to San Antonio Soccer Roundtable tonight. Tomorrow will be the Fancast because SAFC has some news, which we'll go into depth tomorrow with Rafa, me, Matt, maybe Royce. He's still lingering with some throat issues, and we might see if we can bring on some guests of friends of the show to that tonight. Jam-packed show. We're going to have Coach Poor from John Jay hopping on in probably about 10-15 minutes. Then Coach Canos hopefully going to be on from MacArthur to talk about the girls. We'll do the 5A preview. Rafa, I know we saw some action this weekend. For full disclosure, because we are going to have the coach from John Jay, AJ transferred from Stevens to John Jay. Unfortunately, per UIL rules, he'll have to sit out, even though there was no NIL, UIL, recruiting money or anything along those lines. We magically showed up on John Jay's campus, and UIL said we need to sit. Which, to be fair, this is something that's common. So. AJ wasn't singled out, but still makes you wonder. I wish they'd changed the rule to where if it's clear that there wasn't a recruiting or inquiry or anything along those lines, that the kids could play. But AJ's happy, which is the most important thing. And more important than that, he's really excelling in school this year. So good with John Jay and along those lines. But Rafa, you went out and saw a couple of scrimmages. You saw some red cards already. It was a wet, chilly,
rainy.
Winter soccer's rainy. Winter soccer's back, and the reason why we know that is because it gets cold and it gets wet here in San Antonio.
It was exciting Friday night. So I went down to Southwest High School to catch a pair of scrimmages. I did see the Southwest girls versus the Harlan girls, and then to finish things off, the Southwest boys versus long trip for this team, Brownsville Rivera. Both great games, good scrimmages. It's basically, just to prepare for the season, basically extra practice. It's not, you're not really here to make any statements or whatever. It's what you have on the field. What works, what doesn't work. Just like I said, what type of lineups you're going to use, your rotation and so forth. Just as like I said, it was exciting to see it back. Like I said, and there's plenty of other games too. Like I said, it was Saturday. Like I said, went to Sotomayor. You were there with me, you and Matt. Got to see Sotomayor versus Jay. Saw some JV action, and then some varsity. Both competitive games. Great to see there. Good to see AJ play too. Had a good showing there. And
don't tell him that. Don't tell him that.
He only had that one goal. I mean, that looked a little.
I guess here's my question to you
Sure.
while we wait for it here. Obviously, there were some red card issues, and I heard from reports from our friend Lethal Enforcer out in the Houston area. The new what's the new rule? Where the end of the game
mercy
early,
rule.
the mercy rule that was applied in a few matches. For me personally, it's practice. The games don't count. You know, I know last year when AJ was with Stevens, they went over and played a scrimmage against South San. AJ pushed a kid. Wasn't malicious, but it was after the play, and the referee just basically, instead of carding him, said, "Hey, get off. You're off for a while." And then AJ went and sat next to coach. To me, I wish referees would do that more, and I'm not here to criticize referees, but for a scrimmage, it's the goal is to get kids to play where it's 11 on 11, work out some of the kinks. If a kid has to be removed, because in the varsity game against Stevens and South San, there were a couple of tackles that were fairly aggressive. Referee did the same thing. Hey, you need to go to the sidelines, chill out, no cards through there. To me, also on the mercy rule, hopefully the coaches are cycling players. To me, it's a disservice, and I'm talking about scrimmage wise. I understand by letter of law to end a game, if it's 8-0, unless there's injuries or something along those lines here. I would like for the referees, if it's a 6, because it's 60 minutes, I think is what most of them are.
I'd like to see some teams play the whole full 80 minutes.
80 minutes
this weekend.
So,
but there's some usually. I know when I coached, I know for JV we just did 30-minute halves, and then varsity we just did 35. There was no real point of going the full distance. But like I said, times have changed, and but you're right about the the refereeing. Like I said, I did see some red cards on this past weekend, and I think I can understand it if it's like a really hard foul, like a real dangerous play, that makes more sense. But when it's arguing and about a call and this and that, just tell them, hey, you know what, just go ahead and sub out, cool off. There's no reason to have a game versus 11 versus 8 or something like that, or 11 versus 10, or it don't matter. Like I said, scrimmages are there for practice, to see what get enough time for your players to play, see what your bench players can do, and then also your players that are moving up from the from JV to varsity level. You want to see them, and then also when you come to the when you have your JV scrimmages too, you have a lot of incoming freshmen who are new to the system. You want to see what they can do. What type of rotation you're going to have. I think that needs to that's kind of has to be thought all about as far as not red carding anybody. The mercy rule, is there really any reason to keep scoring a scrimmage? I mean, just play. Who cares who scores? If you score, just reset again. Don't have to keep score. If you score a hat trick, great.
The Jay and Soto, the players and us kept score, but there was no scoreboard. There was no time. It was all. The referee had it on there, and
just watch out
through there.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a lot better. I mean, you're just out there to see. You're out there to review what you have and what needs to be worked on, and then, like I said, that way you can have something to talk about. Only after the game, but also at practice, and say, hey guys, we need to work on this, or we did good here. There's really no point really keeping track of scores during the scrimmage, and there's other ways you can do it. I think it's just, like I said, it's more about practice, getting reps and stuff, and then keep score when it's actually an actual non-district game or tournament or showcase, or when you get to district play. I think that's more of a that where it really counts, not so much of a scrimmage. And so hopefully maybe that's something UIL maybe kind of look into in the future. Not keeping scores on scrimmages, and then also with the referees. I know we're lacking referees. I know it's no disrespect to them. I know we're hurting right now, but just let the kids play, but still manage the game right. There's a way to manage it right. And if there's someone does kind of get out of hand, bring them over to the coach and say, hey coach, can you sum off? Okay, he just needs to cool off. That's it. That way we keep it going. Everybody gets their opportunity to play. coach does what he needs to do as far as straighten out the player, and that's that.
Matt mentioned Miho from John Jay was a shocker, great footwork. Yeah, there was a real young freshman, a freshman. I guess he's not real young, but a little bit on the smaller side, but had great footwork, great command, out there. And like I said here, when he first came on, we were like, holy cow. But dude has some footwork. Like I said here, he had a couple of moves. And like I said here, kudos to Soto, kudos to John Jay. Kudos to the fans, like I said here, had a good time turning out. Like I said, that's what it's about here, is to be able to support the players. Speaking of John Jay, we got Coach Poor. Welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me.
So, as I mentioned, full disclosure, AJ transferred from Stevens to John Jay. So I've got to know Coach Poor, and we do have to. We're going to do a little recap from last year. We're going to eat a little bit crow because when I first met Coach Poor at the soccer meeting, he's like, "Hey, you didn't pick us in the bracketology, so we'll own it and we'll show it for that here." But Coach, welcome. Thank you for coming on. Like I said here. Hopefully AJ's not too much of a hassle for you at this point. So.
No, he's been doing a good job. We're excited to have him for sure.
So, but and Stevens, like I said, he had a great time at Stevens as well. Just academic wise, for me, AJ's really excelled at John Jay, and like I said here, he says it's because he has all coaches as his teachers, so I think that matters.
Well, we definitely know how to make connections with our students. That helps.
So, well, and like Anna switched sophomore year to John Jay, really excelled from Stevens. So, like I said, I have nothing but high praise for the academics at John Jay. Anna does more the science and engineering program and the robotics and stuff, and so she's really excelled. So I'm really thankful for the John Jay entire school, just helping my kids mature and grow into young men and women for that.
I was going to do a little shout out to assistant principal Danny Mendoza, a good friend of mine from Del Rio. Shout out to him.
He's been there a long time.
So. That's enough about me promoting John Jay on the academics guide. But if you are, I know Anna does the recruiting, I guess, for the Science and Engineering Academy at the local schools and middle schools. So it is a good program to get into if you can get accepted. But just to kind of talk briefly about last year. Last year, John Jay was 6A. Overall, 16-5-3, 10-4-2. And as we mentioned, we, as a unit, selected them to not advance past Laredo Alexander, who was the runner-up in 30, compared to the third place finish in John Jay. To also be fair, we had selected Brownsville Rivera to go all the way, and they lost to Edinburgh and the Mini, so where Edinburgh North, who beat John Jay, made it all the way to I think it was state, right? Or regional finals.
To the regional final
for that here. So. Great year for last year. Just your words, just to kind of talk about last year a little bit before we move on to this year. I know AJ's coach last year, Coach Reeves, his son played with you and went to West Texas A&M, I believe, for that here. So another connection from that we know as well, and congrats to Coach Reeves and his son, who were both at the scrimmage this weekend as well. So your thoughts on last year and the success and how that sets you up for this upcoming year?
Yeah, last year we had a lot of great kids. Delamu moving on to West Texas A&M was great. We had a good defense. And it was really, the kids did a really good job of buying into the system and believing in what we were doing, and got us back in the playoffs, which was huge, just for the momentum coming into this year. We lost a lot of starters from last year's team, but we returned 8 varsity players off that team, right? We're returning the 29 6A Offensive Player of the Year 2 years running in Irvin Rosas. And so the kids know how to win. That Laredo Alexander game was intense. Their goalkeeper was phenomenal. I'm so glad that we won it in overtime, because in PKs, I don't know how much of a chance we had. Because he was, I mean, some of the saves that kid made was just amazing. You know, and our kids fought hard, and the environment, the fans were great. We got to watch a really good game before us in Brennan and Laredo United South, so that kind of got them excited for that game. And so, you know, just having that experience under their belt, you know, going into this year is going to be great. And hopefully that, you know, we're able to, you know, make a playoff push this year and make a push for the district championship. You know, that's our goal. That's what we talked about. We set high expectations. You know, a lot of these kids come to me knowing how to play the game a little bit. You know, they have skill, they have talent. And I think, you know, what can I do? What can I add to their athleticism or their soccer IQ or just their mental toughness to make them better players? And that's really what we focus on in off season, you know, lifting weights and doing hard things and not running from the hard stuff, because it's easy to turn and run the other way when stuff gets hard. But put them in those situations where they have to fight through things. And the kids have done a great job of doing that.
Did you have a question, Rafa, before I move on to move it down?
Yeah, Coach. So, you know, going to this year, when you saw the UIL realignment, how did you feel about that move from moving down from 6A to 5A?
You know, we knew it was coming, and we had a really good feeling that we were going to get moved in with Southwest and Southwest Legacy and MacArthur. You know, and people ask all the time, well, you know, you're in 5A now. Well, this district's just as hard as the 6A district we just left. You know, Harlan has been so good for so long, but so is Southwest. And MacArthur's having a real good run lately. You know, and then obviously we've been good. Traditionally, we've been really good. We had a little dip for a few years, and we're back up again. And so it's going to be tough, you know, and kids compete. I know, you know, we got Southside and Southwest Legacy, and those Southside kids are tough. And so it's not going to be any easier. The competition is going to be the same. And we got, you know, they put out the regional rankings, and there's a lot of teams from the San Antonio area in those at the top of those rankings. And so it's not any easier. It's just, and it's the game. The kids love the game. I love the game. We should go out there and fight every night and see what happens.
The biggest difference for me that I can see is going to be the travel, and you know, not saying there's not travel between the NISD schools along those lines, but it's all relatively here. Where going to South San Antonio, going to Eagle Pass, which to me is, you know, I went to, you know, this was many years ago, but I went to school in a real rural area in Colorado where you actually traveled, and that built so much with the team, you know, the bonding aspect of it, which I've always kind of wondered here in town, where you're going to Gus or you're going to Ferris along those lines, just, you know, it's what, a 30-minute bus ride every, you know, to and from for most times. So to me, that's what I'm excited about. But from a coach, for your side, how much of a adjustment is it to go from NISD schools to schools beyond the local area, to where, and I'm not saying they're long bus trips, but, you know, they're further than what Jay's used to in the past?
Yeah, they'll definitely be further. You know, driving to Gus is a 10-minute drive, you know, and just the familiarity that the kids have with those venues. So one of the things I don't like about Gus and Ferris is there's not a real home field advantage, right? And so we experienced this in football this year, is that when you travel, now you're playing in a hostile environment, right? When you play at Gus or Ferris, it's not really hostile, you know? And so that'll be new for us. You know, going to Corpus last year, getting to, you know, take a long bus ride, I think helped. That environment against Alexander was pretty hostile. Just as far as the excitement from the crowd for both sides. And so the kids got to experience that. And you know, we have one freshman on the varsity, so he's the only one that didn't get to experience that last year. And so it'll be different. We'll have to leave a little earlier, you know. What I'm really looking forward to is, for the first time in my 13 years at Jay, the JV and varsity get to play at the same place, you know, and we get the varsity just to watch the JV, and the JV doesn't have to come up the next day to watch the varsity play. So that's going to be really fun. And I think that'll increase the team bonding and just make us a lot closer.
Coach, going like this this season, what's your philosophy with the players? Knowing going to this new district wise, what are you preaching to your players for 2025?
Yeah, one of the things that we always talk about is it's not about who we're playing; it's about us, right? It's if we control so many things during the game, how we play, how we pressure, how we move the ball, how we switch it from one side to the other. All those things we control, and so it's always about us. And one of the things I always talk to the kids about before we step on the field is we need to play as hard as we can for as long as we can. And I'll sub you out if you get tired. I expect our kids to play hard. Be safe and respect your opponents, but we don't spend a lot of time talking about our opponents or worrying about other people because we have enough to worry about on our own side.
So, Coach, as far as with this Saturday scrimmage against Sotomayor, what was the feeling afterwards after watching your varsity team play for the first time this year?
Yeah, that had so much nervous energy going into that. Just because I didn't know what to expect, with a lot of kids that had played on a varsity field before but hadn't played a bunch. And I was really impressed with, especially the first groups, just their ability to cycle the ball around, maintain possession. And we're really aggressive in the attack. We want to really stress the defense. I thought we did a good job of that. One of the things it's really hard to get high school kids to do is not watch when other people shoot the ball. And so I was proud that 2 of our goals were off deflections, were off rebounds that we finished. And so stuff like that I always preach to the kids about, like, the back post is a great way to find some easy goals. And we had a kid show up on the back post exactly where he was supposed to be and bang one in the net. And it's just little things like that when they execute it, it just gives you some validation, that they are paying attention when you think they're not. So I was happy for those guys. The second group, when we sent them out there, I was really happy with how hard they played. We got to get better at our possession overall. But I was really, for the first time out, I was really excited about the result and just how they played, how much they cared for each other, how much they played hard. It was good stuff.
I know for me, looking at the schedule here for Jay, you got the NISD showcase coming up first week in January, and then you guys go to the Smithson Valley tournament where both the JV and the varsity go. Which, like I said here, no offense to Stevens, they didn't have there wasn't any JV tournaments, which is something that I would like to see a little bit more in the area if possible. And I know there's a referee shortage and the staffing that comes with that. But to me, I'm excited through there. But for the preseason, I like that for me personally that you're stepping up and playing some of the bigger schools, some of the bigger tournaments to prepare for the district play. I know Rafa's a big proponent of playing a tough non-conference schedule or non-district schedule, I guess I should say, going into this season. Your thoughts on scheduling, the 2 showcases here, the Smithson Valley one especially, as well as the Northside showcase going into it to get ready for district.
Yeah, I like to challenge our kids early. Last year I thought we were going to have a pretty good team, so we scrimmaged Johnson and Brandeis. And this year, I like Coach Boss at Smithson Valley. She does a great job, but she did us no favors in this tournament. We start off with Judson, who is up and down, but God, we watched them play last year and they were good. And then we follow that up with Round Rock McNeil, and they'll be good. And then we finish with Reagan, on a Saturday. And so it's going to be great for our kids. They get to find out really early what they have, what we have, and they can see. We opened district last year with O'Connor, and O'Connor always plays fast, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to scrimmage Johnson last year and Brandeis, so we were ready for that. Because the year before we weren't ready for that speed. And so these kind of tournament games will help us out with that because we'll get Southwest in the second week in district. and we played them a couple years ago, and so we know what they do and how hard they play, and we just got to be ready for that. And we got to show up and just do our best. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Rafa, any final questions that you got for Coach? And Coach, is there anything that you want to add that we haven't kind of covered? I know we've covered last year, just the makeup of what you look for the young men, and then kind of the preseason as we head into district. We won't put you on the line saying, hey, you expect a division title or district title. We won't say that just because we learned the hard way a couple of years ago with some kids. So we stay away from that with the coaches on for that here. But any final thoughts from you, Coach, or Rafa before we let
I was gonna ask Coach, how do you feel about the new now split in the playoffs with the Division 1 and Division 2? How do you kind of plan now? How do you plan for it, especially during the district play?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. To be honest, I haven't spent a lot of time looking at it yet, and I know I will. I don't want to put the cart before the horse too much. Looking down the road, our expectation is to be in the playoffs, and our expectation for ourselves is to fight for a district championship. I know that when we step on the field, whoever we're playing is going to get everything that we have. It's not going to be an easy game and that's just who we are. I'd like to say, there's, in my 12 years, 13 now at John Jay, we've been fighting a lot of perception issues, and it's a great place. When I remember when I first took the job there, people were like, "Why are you going there?" I was like, "I don't know, see what it's about." I've loved every day of it. The kids are great. The community's great. They show up. They support you. And our kids are tough. They're tough as nails, and they fight hard, and they'll do whatever we ask them to do as long as that we can show them that we care about them. Right. And we do. We care about our kids, and we want the best for them. And it's a great place. And I look forward to everything that's going on this year. Our girls basketball team's good. Our boys basketball team's ranked top 15 in the state. Football team's good. We're having a really good athletic year. And so I got a lot of pressure to keep that up. And so, but I'm excited about it, man. I just really appreciate the opportunity to come on here and talk about our kids and our program and our community.
Well, I'll just let you know, I'll be promoting you guys and, all year, because my son represents the school, which means I'll be representing Jay for that here. So I know the coaching here, but is there any clubs that you follow personally, whether, domestically or internationally?
I've never really been able to get into club soccer, and I think it's just a time issue, but I'm a big national team guy, and I love the USA. And so, we got kids from Honduras and Mexico and El Salvador. And so there's always a lot of trash talking going on in the locker room. USA's been on a good run lately against Mexico. And so that's always fun. I'm excited about the World Cup coming up 2026. Love to try to get out and watch any of the games. The atmosphere would be amazing. But no, club wise, I just can't. There's too much movement. It just falls a bad time of year for me.
No, Coach, thank you for coming on. Like I said here, congratulations on 13 years. That's a great accomplishment for that here. Like I said, looking forward to, obviously this is my first year with the program here, looking forward to the final 2 years of AJ's and Anna's, academic career at Jay, both excelling in different parts at John Jay. So I will admit, I was, you hear the perceptions of it, and it's the kids swear up and down it's 1,000 times better than Stevens, and I don't mean that as a disrespect to Stevens, but that's just that's their feelings and how they're excelling. So, do you want to thank you for being a huge part of that, as well as with accepting AJ with open arms, and sorry we couldn't get through the UIL. Paperwork to get him in for varsity this year, but hopefully he'll get a year under the belt, learn the system, and then next year we'll hopefully step into a leadership role for that here. So
that's our plan.
Matt mentioned here, and I think I asked you about this as well. Let us know about soccer merchandise from the school. From when I asked you previously, we hadn't had that, or you hadn't had that time to set that up as of yet.
Yeah, the best way to get merchandise is through our Booster Club right now.
Booster Club. Okay.
I'll say I am terrible about fundraising merchandise and things of that nature. Uh, I like to buy the kids lots of nice stuff and stuff with money that we do fundraise with. But as far as stuff like that, I need to do a better job. I know our girls coach, Coach Soto, did a fan cloth last year. If he does one again, I'll definitely shoot that out to everybody so you can get your John Jay gear.
I did see a shirt because I went to go recruit there at John Jay earlier. They had the kind of the Whataburger logo.
Yeah,
and the exit. That I love that shirt. That was a
yeah. It's got the little Whataburger tent on the back. It says
Yeah.
X7 on it. Yeah, that's a nice one.
So
All right.
that was a good one.
Coach, I'll let you go, and then I got to try to get Coach Connor the link for
right.
here somehow. He's not getting it. But thank you for coming on. And like I said here, when we get to the postseason, hopefully John Jay is well positioned in there. And we may have you on if you have availability to be able to talk about
Yeah, no
for
problem,
bracketology, although we won't put you on the line to make picks, although your picks might be better than ours.
I can make picks. They might be terrible, but I can make them.
Hey, as you saw, our success last year wasn't that good.
Betting on high school kids isn't a good thing. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but I do appreciate you stopping by, and like I said here, look forward to seeing you through the rest of the season there, Coach.
All right, thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
So I gotta get. I texted him the number. Did he not get it?
Yeah, I just sent them the link. So yeah. Thanks to Coach Poor. Looking for great things this season. Like I said, we did get to see him on Saturday. That had a great showing. I think there's one of the teams to be watched and really well coached. Kids. You can tell them. The look on their faces. They enjoy playing for him. It's a big kind of family community there, and like I said, a lot of hopefully great success this season for both they're not only the varsity but also for their JV boys too as well.
Yeah, I didn't realize he had been there for 13 years. So that's I know Jay's been good. What we've been doing this is year 6 for us.
Yeah.
Jay's always been kind of like Warren, where they've always been that second, third, fourth, or fifth team, kind of buzzing right around the playoffs. I don't know if I don't know.
They've actually had some really good teams that did go deep. I know. Remember, had a couple. There's one squad that did make it to I think the regional tournament. So, like I said, but they've had a good history. Like I said, even when I coached, we played against them, and when I was in the Northside district. It was always a game. It wasn't a gimme game. It was always a battle, and they always have had great talent on their squad. So, like I said, they should be they'll do some good things this coming year, and they'll be ready to go for district play.
Speaking of Draw Madrid, Coach Cano, how are you, sir?
Brema, sir. Brema. I've spent a year and a half trying to correct you. I'm Brema, sir. What's going on, guys? How are you?
Good. We just had a good interview with Coach Poor from Jay.
I caught some of that. Great stuff. Great stuff.
Where I fanboyed a little bit about the school. JJ's probably gonna be like, "Why'd you go that far, Dad?"
Yeah, I know. You're not biased. You're not biased.
especially for the merch.
Hey, but I was smart enough to toss Anna in there as well, so that way, if Jenny Check or some of the people that follow the SAFC show, if they happen to watch, they'll know that I didn't exclude the other twin of AJ for that. So
no, it's awesome, man. It's awesome to be here on the John Jay Roundtable. I mean the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. No, hey, rightfully so. No, it's good for you to be. I love the fact that you're you're excuse me, you're transparent with that as well, and that's honest. That's good. That's what we try as a group, right? Between you all, the 50/50 podcast. That's what we aim to do. That's what we try to be as best as possible. And so, no, that's good. But hey, great interview by Coach, man. Great interview by you guys. Great interview by Coach.
So we're not here to cheerlead Hala Madrid, as Matt mentions here.
Matt's always had great taste. Don't hold it against him.
So recapping last year for you, I was trying to pull up the 2024, 20, or 2020, 2023, 2024 season here, but I can't
Yeah.
get Max Prep to work here right yet. But your thoughts just on last year, as far as the, to me, a very successful season for moving over from St. Mary's Hall to MacArthur, and expectations for this upcoming year got to be high, right?
Yeah, you talk about last year, and I think I shared a lot of this with you all offline, but I felt like, I mean, of course, had we made the ultimate run and been the last team standing, that would have been great, of course. But realistically, I think all things considered, and factoring in just the situation, excuse me, the tricky situation that I was kind of walking into last year, I thought we had a really, really great first season. But most of all, I was just very happy for our girls, in terms of to see the renewed fire in the program, the tradition, what that program is about, the rich soccer history in that program. And I was just happy to see our girls really having lots of fun and taking pride in that program again. And and then they experienced some success. It was the winningest season since Mac last went to state in 2016, and their first playoff win or winning a season in 10 years, and their first playoff win in 8 years. So I was extremely proud of them, and how far we came over the course of that season.
So yeah, last year, just to go on record, 17-5-1, 14-2 in district, and I think the only 2 district losses were to Alamo Heights for that here, and then of course you lost to Liberty Hill in the area round of the playoffs here. So great first year. You want to talk about the team? You want to talk about the team that's coming back, as far as highlighting, a few of the players that you expect to take leadership roles for the upcoming year, and possibly some players, if they went to college last year, that will be not saying impossible to replace, but hard to replace just from what they brought.
Yeah, well, we go back to last season. We graduated some really great talent, and I was blessed coming in. I chose to keep or to retain the existing team captains that were in place in Bailey Fitzsimon and Ali Garcia. And Bailey Fitzsimon is in that UDA program, playing in England right now, attending Gloucestershire University and playing for Gloucester FC there in England. And a really cool, really unique program. And we graduated. What was it? I think three club players last year. And and then what we graduated in defense in Brianna Rosales, another one of our forwards, in Leilina Wilson. We lost off of last year's team. What we graduated was, just from the scoring side, was 45 goals of production, right? Not to mention how much just great on the back line. Jocelyn Limas, and we mentioned Brianna Rosales earlier, just what they did for us, just countless the stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, right? Just countless big play after big play after big play. So that was a lot to graduate going into this year. Excuse me. So we knew we were going to have, it's like, hey, we're graduating this. Who's going to step up? And we feel that we've identified, and the development that took place last spring, over the summer and this fall, we have some strong players that are ready to step into those new roles, right? Where these same players that just graduated, where these same players were 2 years ago. And then this year, or last spring, we promoted a couple of team captains, and we're blessed to have very strong leadership in Addison Doyos and Olivia Arnett, who they're seniors this year, both going to play at the next level. Olivia Arnett going to play at TLU. She's committed to TLU. And Addison Doyos, who's headed to UT Tyler. So 2 great programs, 2 great coaches, getting ready to go get a great education. But before they do that, we want to send them out in style with a great senior season. And then we have, we're blessed with a really good, not a big senior class, but a strong senior class. We have the twins. I call them our pair of twins, right? And the Calzada twins in Juliana and Salvana Calzada, and then of course we have one of our seniors who wasn't able, kind of a similar situation to AJ last year, right? Wasn't able to play varsity last year in Isabella Gilliam. So we're excited to have her finally playing with us this year. And then last but not least, the coach's kid, right? My daughter, Salma, who I'm very
No,
proud of.
no pressure on, no pressure.
Yeah, exactly, right. No, and like I said, we're transparent with the stuff, right? Her,
Yeah.
just very happy, very proud, so I'll have a lot of little mini proud moments this year
Mhm.
because I'm not accustomed to coaching. It's one thing to coach your own kid. I've coached her for many years. It's another to coach your kid when you know they're playing their last real year of competitive ball. She had the opportunity to to try to go play at the next level. She chose a different path. She wanted to focus on her studies, and I told her, it's like, hey, I'll support you in any way, shape, or form. I just didn't want her to pursue playing at the next level simply because she might have felt the pressure because of who dad was, right? So very proud of her as well. And I have a feeling, knock on wood, but I have a feeling her and all of these fellow seniors are going to be very big for us.
So you didn't switch from 6A to 5A, but you did change districts where you went from a district last year
that was 3 years ago.
where you went from Alamo Heights, Brackenridge, Burbank, Edison, Highlands, Houston, Jefferson, Lanier, and of course MacArthur to now this year you get to move to 28 with Eagle Pass Win, John Jay, Harlandale, MacArthur, McCollum, Southside, Southwest, South San, and Southwest Legacy. Your thoughts on moving to the new district and the different challenges that it brings?
Yeah, well, the interesting piece about this is with 20 moving now to 28 5A, making the move from 27 5A to 28 5A is a lot of us thought we were going to end up in what we know now as 26 5A, right? The quote unquote group of death that a lot of us call it. But you look at 28 5A here, and I think 20 in Region 4 in South Texas, I think rightfully so, 26 5A is going to get a lot of the headlines, going to get a lot of the, oh my God, look at that. But I think you look at us here in 28 5A, and I got to tell you, I'll fight this battle. I'll die on that hill. I think this is going to be perhaps the most underrated soccer district in Region 4. Just a very, very good, sneaky district that when you look at it on the surface, it's maybe a little easy to look past. But then when you start diving in a little bit more, you start looking at the matchups, you start looking at the history, the programs, and you start looking at the trajectory of some of these programs and what they have in place. I think you're going to start to realize that this is a much stronger, much deeper district than people realize on both sides, both the boys and girls.
Rafa?
Yeah, coach. So going into like this year, you mentioned about losing those key seniors. Any key players, moving up from the JV, because I guess JV is kind of like the backbone to the varsity programs. Any key players from the JV moving up to varsity?
Yeah, we're working on that right now. That's part of what we've identified as to that they made that big step. Very proud of our players who came from last year's JV up to the varsity this year. They have very much the initial phase of proving themselves. They've done that already, and they were selected. They had put in the work and they earned the right to be selected for varsity. Now what we're trying to figure out as to, hey, how do we set them up for success in terms of, based upon our system of play and our style of play, where do we want to put them, right? Where do we kind of insert them? Some of them may be ones, some of them may be twos in our system of play, depending upon where we see them being the most effective. And so I think that we had a total of 5 that made the jump from last year's JV to this year's varsity, and very proud of them, because a lot of obviously over the course of last season they developed greatly, but then they put in a lot of work starting last spring. It translated over the summer. They participated, all of these players that made the big jump. They participated in our summer 7v7 league, which was I felt like was a great league for that intended purpose. And and they had the opportunity to play with some of our existing varsity players, so that really helped them adapt further, right? Start building some chemistry. So that, and then a couple with some of the summer the summer open fields workouts that we had, plus getting in the weight room, and they just had tremendous preseasons this fall as well. So very proud of the entire group.
So a question that Rafa asked Coach Poor, with the new playoff structure, to me it looks like MacArthur, depending on how results fall, could be kind of that tweener school where you could be in the Division 1 or Division 2 of the playoffs there. Kind of your thoughts as a coach. I know it's not something you're probably thinking about right now, but just on the macro level, kind of your thoughts on like tweener schools where you're at, where realistically you could play in either one of the playoffs upcoming here, assuming that MacArthur makes the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, from that perspective, I'll be honest with you. Like, to put it bluntly, I really, as long as we're not Division 3, I'm good, right? Because then, I mean, then ultimately that means we really have failed in terms of what our objective is. And our initial objective is to obviously take care of business in district and qualify for state playoffs, right? Then once we've taken care of business on that first part, then it's just a matter of, it's kind of a bit of a roll of the dice, right? Because we don't have control over who are the other 3 teams within our district that qualify for playoffs. And we definitely don't control what our path will look like, regardless of whether we're Division 1 or Division 2, right? So the big focus, first of all, is take care of business within district as best as we can, and making sure that we, the objective is to qualify for state playoffs, obviously. But that isn't our ultimate objective. We want to be able to obviously go further than that. But yeah, like I said, nothing is given. We haven't proven anything yet, and we're in this new district. And this district is going to be, like I said, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Rafa, because I know Coach mentioned about 15 minutes. We're getting to the end of that. So your thoughts on, or your final questions you got for Coach Connell?
Just looking at the district play, any games, any teams there on that list you're looking forward to playing? I know there's one that we did see last year, and you guys took care of business. That's probably one of the best games I've seen from your squad play. Going into this year, how, any key games they're looking at this, like who you look forward to playing?
Yeah. No, not really. I think it's the anticipation of really that whole first round of district play, right? Especially when you play some of these away games. Because one of the things is where us and Jay, right, we're at for lack of better words, we're at a slight disadvantage where we don't get true home games. They're kind of sort of home games, but they're not true home games. Whereas in a lot of these locations, a lot of these places, we're playing true road games, right? So I think that environment in itself, I'm looking forward to it, because I think that's going to be, for the course of a season, that's going to just further help develop the character, the strength, the resolve, and how do we adjust to some of that adversity as a group, as a unit, because I think some of our girls haven't quite experienced it to that level. Even last year in 27-5A, because everything we played on away games for road games, they weren't, they were just like our home games. They weren't true road games. So I think that'll be a little bit of an adjustment, a little bit of an eye opener for all of us. But to be honest with you, I think this is why we're part of this. This is why we play the game, and it's just a great, one more exciting part, fun part of Texas high school soccer.
Yeah, Coach Poor mentioned that as well. Just
did he?
Yeah, about just the differences, especially for the NISD schools where it's Gus and Ferris and Soccer Field 1, Soccer Field 2, where going away, you're actually going to be going, it's almost going down to like Laredo and Brownsville, those type of environments on the south side and around there. But for those that are watching the College Cup, Marshall just scored with about 23 minutes left, so they're up 1-0 over Vermont.
Is it 23 minutes left? Is that what it is?
Yeah, 23 minutes left. So
I got a little bit more time, guys. If you want to go a little longer, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine.
So 5A preview, Rafa. Where
Sure.
do you want to start?
Let's start. Let's start with the boys. Or well, we'll get the girls there. So, we'll start with the group of death. We can start with the group of death. We can start with the girls.
So District 26 girls is going to be Bernie Champion, Piper, Smithson Valley, Kerrville Tybee, New Braunfels, Alamo Heights, Veterans Memorial, and Wagner. So you got probably
6
quality playoff teams, and only
6 or
4 will
7.
make it.
Yeah, that's going to be the shame there. The those 2 teams that are left out probably would win district in other districts or be a playoff team. Coming into this season.
Yeah.
I think the key to this is who steals points away. If you can come out with a tie or you come out with a win at away, that's going to be I think the big difference maker who makes, like I said, as far as not only winning the district title, but also getting into the playoffs.
So moving to 27, Brack, Burbank, Edison, Fox Tech, Highlands, Sam Houston, Jefferson, Lanier, and Seguin moves down, which they've been in a real tough district. And I'm not saying 27's not that tough, but to me, it'll be interesting with them dropping down into an easier district than what they were in. So thoughts on 27?
So this is our coach's old district last season.
Right. Yeah, what I was going to say, so a couple of things of note here. I would say one, just as you mentioned, Harry Seguin, right? Seguin comes, moves over into this district, and they're making their adjustment. They definitely have some talent there, obviously. Making an adjustment to a new coach. They got a first-year coach in that program as well. So that's a lot of change all at once. How do they adjust to it? But and then the other piece I think from this perspective here is I think Jefferson has kind of been the stronghold in this district, and Coach Duran, I think she'll have them ready, and then just kind of keep your eye a little bit on some of these programs, like an Edison. Could this come down to maybe an Edison Jefferson Seguin race, and then maybe 2 or 3 other schools vying for that 4th and final playoff spot, as well as I think this will be a district to watch closely that could get very interesting, very dramatic in the last couple of games, fighting for maybe that last playoff spot.
And if this district, if they go off last year, they go by points, not necessarily. So there's no draws when it comes to district play. So that's one thing that also makes this one a little bit more unique.
They have the PKs, right, Coach?
On this penalty. Yeah, they have the 2-1 split system for penalties. So
that's always a little bit more interesting. 28, we've kind of already talked about it a little bit here. Eagle Pass win, John Jay, Harlandale, MacArthur, McCollum, Southside, Southwest, South San, and Southwest Legacy. Just so that we can talk about them for Matt here. South San, let's hopefully they can step up and be a little bit better this year than they were last year here, and continue the growth with South San here. But your thoughts?
Is Matt a South San grad?
His mom is,
but his parents are. I think his parents work from there. If
his mom does,
his
mom does.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's where the connection with Matt to South San is.
Gotcha.
For that here, but to me, Southwest, for the boys and the girls, historically has done well in this. John Jay moving down, and obviously MacArthur moving over. To me, it's. I know you guys have already hinted at this. This is going to be one to watch for. That it may not get the pub of 26, but it may be even as challenging top to bottom for with the depth.
Correct.
You also have to include MacArthur too, because they got their leading scorer back, and I think this is her senior year, so it's gonna be an interesting rate. I think it's gonna be even more.
Oh, you mean McCollum? You're talking about McCollum?
Yeah, McCollum. Yeah, for the girls. Yeah, I think it's gonna be more competitive this year compared from last year, because I know last year we had I think Medina Valley girls. I think they were co-district champs with Southwest.
Right.
So, but like I said, now they're moved on to 6A. But still, this is going to be. I think, like I said, it's a lot tougher district this year.
So Matt says both of his parents went to South San for that here. Moving over to the boys, 26, just as challenging. Bernie champion. That'll be a fun rivalry match to go to. Piper, Smithson Valley, Kerrville Tivy, New Braunfels, Alamo Heights, Veterans Memorial, and Wagner. So to me, still 6-7 contenders for 4 spots.
Yeah, from this perspective, it's interesting just because Bernie and Bernie Champion they've never even been in the same classification, and now they're kind of thrust into the same district, right? And Bernie's not just they are not your prototypical, program coming from 4A to 5A, right? You want to talk about a program just rich in tradition, culture. What Coach Strong has done there with the Greyhounds is they're going to quote unquote punch well above their weight as a newly promoted 4A or newly realigned, I guess you could say, 5A that came from 4A. So yeah, I wouldn't discount him, his program whatsoever. I think this is going to be on the boys' side just as much as on the girls' side, just a very, very tough but very, very fun district to watch. Like, every Tuesday, Friday when you're going at it, it's literally a playoff game.
Yeah, if you look at like with Bernie, what they've done the last few years of the run they've had, but Coach Strong's done a great job. I think they're going to be really prepared for this. They're always battle tested. One of the things he does well is they prepare in the non-district games. I know they do the Alamo Heights tournament, which is loaded with a lot of playoff teams. So he gets them prepared for. And especially for this district, they're going to be ready to go. And I don't think any of the teams are going to take a lightly. Another team is New Braunfels, moving down from 6A to 5A. Yeah, keep an eye on them. And like I said, they're gonna surprise some people here, and they may do some damage. Especially in the playoffs. They've had some upsets the last few years in 6A, but here in 5A, I think they're going to have great opportunities. What are you going to say about Alamo Heights? Alamo Heights, traditionally strong team. I know they just played Brownsville Rivetta on a scrimmage. So I heard it was a great game between both of them. And then Piper had a great run last year too, and then Bernie. I think Bernie Champion kind of bounced back. They had a couple of off seasons, but now I think they got it together now. So it's probably going to be a really fun district to watch, and back and forth. And this basically every game is a playoff game if you kind of look at this.
Yeah, and you look at New Braunfels too, is how do their adjustment, new district, new classification, and a first year coach, right? All these little things, how quick can they, catch things in stride? And obviously, they have talent there. They're going to have a say in this district, but just all these variables, right? Is like how quickly can they make all these adjustments and then kind of hit the ground running, I guess.
And I'll get your logo on here, New Braunfels. I just noticed I only have 8 instead of the 9 here, so I'll get that fixed. We're still preseason for me as well here. Get the slides already. I was like, wait a second, we're missing one here. Who are we missing? One question that I have, and this can go kind of for both of you. For Alamo Heights, historically, they've been one of the power teams in a district. With this one here, they're coming over where there's multiple power teams. How does that change things for them, if that makes sense? Where you used to be in the alpha to where now you're one of the alphas along those lines here. You got Bernie, kind of very similar with 4A, where they pretty much ran away with the titles here. To me, moving over from, and I know MacArthur gave Alamo Heights a push last year, for that here, but just top to bottom where they historically would play a tough non-schedule, kind of have, a district play where maybe not as challenging, comparatively to this year, and then gear up, for the playoff run. Mm-hmm. Yeah, how big of a difference does that make, on a coaching level?
Rafa, you want to handle that first?
I think with Alamo Heights, just traditionally they don't shy away from playing anybody. Especially they host their own tournament.
Mhm.
I know I've seen them a few times. I know I've been with some games with Coach Steve too, watching them. They always have talent. They're always ready to go. Even someone like some of my club boys played with Alamo Heights, and they were always at that high level. The expectations is always going to be high, regardless. Because I think a couple of years ago they were playing like New Braunfels Canyon. So they were still in a tough district. So this is nothing new for them. They'll be well prepared. They have a great coaching staff. They just got to know every game they play this season, district play, they have to bring their A game, because they cannot just a little slouch, a little slack off could cost you, a playoff spot or even a district title.
This Vermont Marshall game is wide open and starting to get chippy. Not completely agree with Rafa when you're talking about Alamo Heights. And from a coach perspective, Harry, I would just say, I think at a certain point, I think almost all coaches would agree with this, is that you can't really get caught up in the competition and what the other schools are doing. You just got to focus on you, because it can be overwhelming and a lot of just energy wasted on nothing, that are things that are beyond your control. And as coaches, that's one of the key things that we preach, right? That we preach day in and day out to our athletes is, control the controllables, focus what's within your control, and and everything else you just try to manage as they come.
Moving to 27 boys, Brackenridge, Burbanks, Edison's, Fox Tech, Highlands, Sam Houston, Jefferson, Lanier, and Seguin. Thoughts on this one, Rafa?
I think this one's kind of like a little wide open. As far as I think there's maybe 3 teams that think they can probably win district. I think Jeff's been traditionally, like I said, they've been playing well the last few years. Lanier's been a surprise. They've kind of come up. I think they beat MacArthur right last year. The boys, I think it was in a PKs or something.
Well, they did. Well,
and then it was a controversial, something like that.
It was a weather affected
weather
game.
Down, yeah.
It was not taking anything away from them.
But like I said,
the procedure how it took place was quite nothing against Lanier. It was more of the procedure it took place from the district. It was just questionable.
I saw that, but they played well, like I said. And then you have Edison's traditionally has always had good teams too. Like I said, even some of my other club boys have played there. I think Bracken's been a surprise. They've had some good talent there. I think this is a wide open race. And now that you throw in Seguin, and Seguin maybe, like I said, they could come in as a factor. Kind of level playing field here. So this is going to be. I think this will be a little fun district. Like I said, there's about 4 or 5 teams that I think that are going to challenge for the district title. Fox Tech, moving up from 4A or 5A, they might have some maybe little growing pains there because of depth. But like I said, can't count them out because they are a playoff team from last year. So anything can happen. But this is going to be a little fun little district.
Yeah, I agree. Wide open. Yeah, absolutely.
So 28, Eagle Pass win, John Jay, Harlandale, MacArthur, McCollum, Southside, Southwest, South San, and Southwest Legacy. For years, we've called this the Southwest Invitational for it here. I think that changes this year. I know John Jay is going to push them. Harlandale historically gets off to a good start and then kind of goes down. Biggest loss, I guess, would be not Monte Vista, Medina Valley. For that here, Southwest Legacy had a great late run at the end of the year. So Rafa, your thoughts, and of course MacArthur, was solid moving over as well. I'm not sure how much they've lost from last year to this year. I still think Southwest is probably still the favorite to win. No offense, Coach Poor with John Jay, but I think until somebody steps up to the talent of Southwest, it'll be kind of interesting. I don't think Southwest runs away with it. I think there'll be a little bit more challenges for them for this year. But Rafa, your thoughts on 28?
Yeah, I think, like I said, the favorite's got to be Southwest. they do have 20 returning players on that team. It's probably their most experienced team and going into this season. And what I saw on Friday, they were hitting, slow start because they got caught off guard early on when they got scored on. And like I said, but they bounced back. They kept on grinding, and they had a good showing. They finished. The thing is, they finished strong on that scrimmage. And I even talking to the coach, they say he fully understands. He's not got to take the district for granted. They said they know they have to show up. They just can't. Okay, yeah, we're Southwest. We're gonna win this game. They got a target on the back. Now they have John Jay and Mac on there. They're not gonna roll over. They're gonna give them a game. And I know Mac's familiar with them because they did play them in the playoffs last year. So the Mac boys are gonna be up for the challenge. And so I think I see those three teams. As far as playoffs, Harlandale, I think they could get that 4th spot. They do have a good record early on, but then they kind of falter, playing some of the maybe stronger teams. So maybe they get it better, see what to kind of get you prepared. And that's the key there. And I think that's something what Southwest has learned is that, having a strong non-district schedule, even coaches, he's told me about his schedule. It's going to prepare for this. This district play is a grind, and you don't know what could happen, especially with injuries and so forth. Your players, especially with your Bretts, you have to plug them in. They have to step it up, to keep a certain level of play, and playing those tough games, get you mentally prepared for this grind. And like I said, I think those teams are going to be best. But keeping also a lot like Legacy. Legacy got hot at the very end. I think they'll be a contender there. I think they're like a little dark horse there as far as maybe upending a couple teams. Another might be Southside. I think Southside, they've built a really good program.
They flirted last year too.
Yeah, they flirted last year too. So what they have coming back this year, like I said, this is you got say about 6 teams that are going to bring it. They're not going to roll over to Southwest. It's still they're going to make them earn it. But I think this is going to be a really good competitive district going into 2025.
Well, that's it as far as the 5A. Just looking through here, Rafa and I are kind of in discussions if we want to kind of do a prediction show next week through here. On Thursday, we're going to go over 6A for that. We don't have any guests lined up as of yet. We'll see if we can work on that, for 6A, just to kind of briefly go over that. And then there'll be the dead period of the week of Christmas, as far as for high school soccer, as far as activity. And I think it's the 28th, or was it the
what's that?
First match is the 27th, 28th,
30th,
or the 30th. Oh, the 30th. Yeah. Okay, that Monday, the 30th.
It's kind of one of those tricky situations where
that's right.
If two teams have still not played an official match yet, and they want to quote unquote schedule a scrimmage, deem it a scrimmage, they can, but really not supposed to. As of the 30th game, they're supposed to be live. So don't get me started.
So, and then of course, most kickoff, the second or third, I think, is that weekend. Following weekend is when you'll see most action. I know for me, and this is something I'm going to highlight, all year. If you have the opportunity to go referee, please do. If you are in the stands or on the field, please be kind to the referees. It's a hard job. They're gonna make mistakes, just like we make mistakes in the stands, just like we make mistakes on the field. So just treat them with respect for that here. They are doing their best. Will they miss a call? Sure. Will they get a call wrong? Sure. But 9 out of 10 times they make the right call for that here, which is something that goes under the radar. But that's my final thought. Just be kind to the referees, support the referees, and if you can, volunteer. Go out and be a referee for that here. And that's mine. Coach, your final thought, and then we'll get Rafa. Rafa will get us out of here.
No, just thank you for doing the show. Thank you for having me. And I wish you guys the best in what you're doing here in in 2025. You know, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year ahead of time. But yeah, just continue. You know, you guys start transitioning from SAFC content to high school content here in the San Antonio area, and look forward to y'all's stuff. So thank you for having me.
And I guess we got to ask you thoughts on the new coach for SAFC.
Did you catch that GIF that I replied in? I'm just kind of I don't know what to. You look at his CV, and I'm just like, okay, it's like, you know, he's got an extensive kind of MLS and North American background, you know, and you're kind of like, okay, what I was trying to decipher is what direction, how much of this is kind of revealing or not revealing in terms of, and by the way, spoiler alert, Vermont just tied it up. 9 minutes left. Yeah. What direction? What does this really say in terms of the direction that they're trying to go? Right.
Nice team goal too.
In terms of philosophy and style of play. So I don't know. I wish I could share more in terms of having a definitive opinion or thought, but I don't.
He is.
My concern was like, because there was a big gap for him from coaching. Like there was a 7-year gap, and you know, when you're out of the game for that long, you know, was there any red flags for that, or was he just burnt out? I can understand they got somebody from MLS as an assistant that was a current assistant, or maybe out of a game, maybe out of here, but that was a big gap, you know, from coaching, and I know some people were concerned about that. I don't know how you feel about how that. Where
was the gap again? I was trying to look over.
It was like 7 years, I think.
No, but from where? From where? Like when to win? I guess.
When was the? I think when the last was it that 7 years around there or less?
No, I think you're off on that because he was he's only been off 1 year since Gio.
1 year, okay.
It's because he's tied to Gio Severus.
Okay.
Because it looked like he entered the coaching ranks at this level. What was it? 2010? I think with USA is what I thought I saw.
But from my understanding, how he got tied to Gio is with the Cosmo. When they came back into NASL, he was part of their staff.
And then the
from there, he went to DC United back home because that's where he played and was all MLS best 11 for a couple of years, won 2 titles. But to me, I think I'm assuming because he's been with Gio so long that he's going to have that kind of background with that. I've always wanted to have Gio with San Antonio FC, so I guess this is kind of Gio light. We'll see. To me, what the interesting aspect of the hire is he's 55? I think he's a couple of years older than me. First time as a head coach for that here. However, Tom Bogart put out a tweet back in October that his name was high on the list of several USL championship clubs, including Brooklyn, who ended up pushing back. So I think on his resume, he's there. To me, I wonder if he's going to be kind of like an Eric Quill, where if he can show, hey, he's got the chops, he's got the pedigree to be able to take the next step back up to MLS.
It could be a short stay, I guess is what you're saying. Possibly. Yeah.
So,
which I mean, possibly. You don't want to fault. You're not going to fault any coach who wants to try to get to the highest level that they possible for them. I get that. Yeah. But I don't know. I just, like I said, the CV looks pretty good. And obviously as a player, his background. But I mean, I guess TBD, right, in terms of what that means. Now that they've gotten that out of the way, and then the recent announcements that just came down, now it's time to like, hey, can we put pressure on the pedal, right, and start getting in, start reinforcing that roster, right?
So, but it'll be interesting. AJ did have a question. Is Highlands High School good or bad? Because Stevens just beat them. So AJ still has a lot of friends with Stevens that we go back.
Remember, it's just a scrimmage. Like I said,
just a scrimmage.
Just a scrimmage. There's no statements made in scrimmages. I mean, Coach. How do you feel as far as with scrimmages? You know, from your point of view, as far as how do you treat scrimmages as far as
my first rule of scrimmages is get out of there healthy, right? Injury free for the first and foremost, obviously. But from there, I think it's a matter when you break it down for whether it's you tell your players this, you tell parents this. It's like, hey, we're looking at all kinds of different stuff, right? Different wrinkles, different maybe systems of play, looking at players in 2 or 3 different positions, possibly. You're just a number of factors, right? And which is why. So in our scrimmage versus lead this past Saturday, I mean, we take a totally different approach, different format where we play 3 20-minute periods with 5-minute breaks in between the first and second periods, and then end it with penalties. So we get the opportunity to talk to our players a little bit more, and we get to try different formats, right? Different systems of play, different, just try different things, different substitution patterns based on each period. And then we get the opportunity to look at some penalties and test our goalkeepers and our shooters. So yeah, I think it's just one big, just one big, like a big quiz, right? That you're trying to take.
Vermont just missed an open net with 6 minutes left. My question, this is kind of circling back to the.
I think you're about 15 seconds ahead of me here. Yeah.
We're circling back to the top of the conversation that we had at the show. Red cards, and like I said, we're not turning on the referees, but thoughts on red cards or cards during scrimmages, and then the mercy rule. I know Jay and Sotomayor didn't keep score. There was no running clock or anything along those lines through there. Your thoughts on red cards? Like, I know we talked about AJ got sent off. Hey, you got to go for a push. South San last year in a JV match. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts on like refs making it 11 versus 8, like what happened at Southwest and on Friday night. From a coaching perspective, that has to defeat what you're trying to do for the scrimmage, right? As far as being able to learn and interact.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to help. Obviously, it's not going to help. But I think, obviously, you got to treat it. You got to treat it on a case by case situation. You got to have full context. What happened in that situation? You can't just look at it on paper. Was there, did the officials, were they within perfectly? Obviously, they're within their right. But had it been mounting to that, to where the referees get put, because I've almost never met an official that wanted to throw a player out. It's not the case. But
that's not what the fans on the stand say, though.
Right, of course. Of course. And I get it. I mean, I get it. That's why I say you got to be careful with these, right? But I would say too that it's sometimes from an official's perspective. We try to look at it from their perspective too. Is like, but it's okay to ask the question. Is like, hey, did the officials not set the tone early, right? Did they not set the tone early? And then all of a sudden, kind of, they give slack, and then all of a sudden they got to go kind of not over the top, but it's like, okay, now we got to come down hard, right? So yeah, I think it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one, and there's no one thing that I'm gonna say that is gonna like strike, everlasting wisdom. It's just it's always gonna be one thing. Just opinions, and like I said, if Rafa was at this match, I guess he could speak to it better than I could. But yeah, even from a scrimmage perspective, I think, now that said, I don't also fault officials they're going to call their particular style of game, their particular style, and I think as long as officials are perfectly within their right, as long as they're not making it about them and being consistent in their call both ways from the start of the match, then I don't see an issue with that in terms of if an official has to make that tough call.
Rafa, get us out of here.
Yeah, like I said, going to what Coach mentioned about that, like I said, it is like the ref's discretion. But sometimes, even as a referee, you kind of have to have some little common sense, knowing it's not a real game. Hey, there's other ways and means to kind of get around that. I can understand if it's like a red card off a breakaway, like a last defender or something, or a real dangerous play like studs up. But when you're arguing with a referee and stuff, or that you're not happy about a call, hey, just like, what? Hey, coach, can you just sum them out? Just have them cool off, and hey, let's go on, continue on, let's play. and that's that. Something like that. I think for a scrimmage like that should happen. But just to finish off, like I said, looking forward to the season, coming out some of the games, and 5A. Like I said, 5A is going to be a very, very competitive, fun-filled season for both boys and girls. So we look forward to that, and also and shout out to Club America, three-peat, tricampeón. I'm sure Harry's happy about that.
All right, I gotta go, Harry. Thank you for having me. I gotta go.
So shout out to all the Águilas fans, but Coach, thank you for coming on. And like I said, I'm sure we have. Like I said, we had a fun time, especially on this past Saturday, especially with the preseason RPIs.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great show.
It was a good show. A little disappointed that Jay wasn't in there, but hey, they'll work their way into it for that here. But but we're little reminder here tomorrow. I think we're going to try to have the SAFC Roundtable where we talk about the new coach, maybe a player announcement, maybe not.
You're not going to make it to the weekend, huh? You're going to go a midweek show. I like it.
Yeah, we've decided that I've started taking more control of the schedule when there's breaking news to get it out at that point.
Nice.
Because we found, especially Sundays and the weekend, it's a little challenging.
Right.
So we'll just go, hey, who can come on? If it's me and Rafa, me and Matt, 4 or 5 of us, it's good, but at least we're getting the information out.
It shouldn't be that challenging on Sundays, man. I mean, both the Broncos and the Cowboys stink. So, I mean, I don't know.
Dude, what are you talking about, dude?
It's not that
hard. The Broncos are in the playoffs almost. Can the Cowboys say that?
Emphasis on almost.
They're the 5th seed or 6th seed right now. They're 9-5.
That's not saying a whole lot, man. That's not saying a whole lot.
They have the same record as the Ravens.
Again, and the Ravens are down this year, so that's not saying a whole lot. We'll see. Hey, but part of the reason why they're 9-5 was I saw the Colts quarterback, multiple receivers completing great passes to the Broncos players yesterday. So yeah,
dude, you and I could have intercepted that pass as slow developing as it was. I was all like, I didn't just see that, right? And they're like, yeah, and it's like,
yeah. I mean,
now,
even my Cowboys, as horrible as they are, would probably be 9-5. I think playing that schedule. But
hey, at least your Cowboys beat the Panthers. That's their first win in how many games?
Oh, we're great on the road. I think if we just played all 18 games on the road, all right, probably be the number 1 seed in the NFC.
So, no. What's life without goals? We're out of here. We're gonna watch the last minute of the game before it goes to extra time, right? 15?
Yeah, they got the golden goal rule is in effect for the tournament. So it can be potential walk-off winner take all with a golden goal in overtime.
I will say it is pretty cool that for Division I to have 2 non-Power 5 schools, Vermont and Marshall, going head-to-head for the finals is awesome, and it's you won't ever see that again in football and American football, but it's great that it happens in soccer. My only complaint, Texas, we need more D1 schools. But what's life without goals?
You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing.